So we've got telly, we've got drink, and how else do you relax?
Knitting.
Who the fuck are you? Where are you? Knitting.
I'm from Bolden.
You're from Bolden? Hello. It means nothing to them, but hello. Oh, okay. So you knit. Do you just knit like a big long... I imagine it's just always scarves. Or do you knit actual things that you can force onto people as presents? Have you brought it in case you're a little bit bored during the show? Cocks. She's talking about cocks again. So knitting is a good answer. My friend said to me, have a bath. She said, have a bath. It's quite a good way of relaxing. I thought, well, it's quite a good idea. Because I normally have showers. I think showers are more sort of time efficient. But I still buy all the things you're supposed to put in the bath. You know, the lotions and the potions and the bath bombs, all that sort of stuff. My bathroom looks like I've ram-raided Lush. The only time I ever have a bath is when I'm in a hotel, I'm on the road maybe, and I'm in a hotel room, I've got a bit of time to myself. But of course I don't take me lotions and me potions because you don't, do you? Instead I'm stuck with time, but like an inch of shower gel / shampoo / fucking toothpaste. With which I'm expected to wash a 12-stone woman. I mean me. I don't provide a service. Come on in, Brenda, get on the scales. You're all right, go and get your clothes off. So my friend said have a bath, so I had a bath and it was all right. It's all right. But I thought I better can make this better. So I had a cup of tea in the bath. There's something really satisfying about being the same temperature on the inside as the outside. I was in the bath the other day, I had a cup of tea on the go, had a bath bomb in. We all know what a bath bomb is, it just fizzes around and makes the water all smell nice and feel nice. And my boyfriend was walking past the bathroom door and I shouted to him in and he said, what's the matter? And I said, doesn't it smell nice? And he went, oh, it does smell nice. And I said, feel my arm. And I lifted it out of the water and I went, feel that. And he went, ooh, slimy. So I relaxed for about another 20 minutes and then it was time to get out of the bath. But I still had a little bit of tea left and I thought, I'm not going anywhere till I finish my tea. So I just pulled the plug and let the water all drain out. And I ended up sitting in an empty bath. I felt a little bit beached. But it wasn't altogether a horrible experience. Nobody was like spraying us with water trying to keep us alive. So I finished my tea and as I stood up to get out of the bath, a tidal wave of water came from behind me. I was totally confused. I looked at the front and it was empty. I looked behind, still about that much. I'd formed a seal around the bath with me arse. I do a lot of driving in this job. I don't find driving very relaxing. I get quite stressed behind the wheel. And I bought something recently that I thought might help in certain situations. And what I bought was a Shiwi. Now, some of you know what it is. If you don't know what a Shiwi is, it's a little plastic funnel that ladies can use in order to have a waist standing up without having to remove any clothing. It's quite practical, quite functional. Women use it for music festivals or for going walking or hiking or that sort of thing. I bought it because I got stuck in traffic. I wasn't just like at the lights for ages going, come on, fuck it, I'm just going to piss myself. Now, I was driving on the M6 between Manchester and Birmingham and a lorry jackknifed and there's 150 cars stuck for 2.5 hours. And all of the men were getting out of their cars, they all had a bit of a chat with each other and then they stood in a big long line on the hard shoulder and had to wait and I was really jealous. So I got in, ordered a Shiwi, it arrived, it's pink, obviously. And I also bought an extension pipe. So I thought if that ever happens again and I get to wait alongside the men on the hard shoulder, wouldn't it be great if I had the biggest cock? Is that all you've got, love? Has anybody got a shoulder I can rest mine on? But I'm quite practical like that. I've only been driving a few years, but when I first passed my test, my dad, who I get my practical side from, said to me, right, the following things you should always have in the boot of your car. You need a blanket, you need a flask, you need a shovel. And he's right, because whenever I've killed a man, I'm always parched. I've only been doing stand-up for about 6 years, and before that, my life was quite substantially different. I was married, And I had a job that I hated so much, I used to try and get knocked over on the way in. I wasn't suicidal, just a couple of ribs or a leg. But like I say, my life is quite different now. I spent some time with my sister recently and she said, "You've changed." Ooh. You know, that voice that they put on, the big sister voice that even though we're 35 and 41 still frightens the shit out of us. "You've changed." I said, "How have I changed?" She said, "You never used to eat peas when you lived with us." That's the kind of crazy lifestyle she thinks I've got now. I always get free peas everywhere I go. But I took my mum, dad and my sister out for a nice meal just before Christmas. And midway through the meal, my mum said, "When me and your dad go, we're going to go together." I said, "What are we talking about now?" "When me and your dad go, we're going to go together." I said, "Are you talking about a suicide pact?" And she went, "No, we're not going to call it that." So I sort of did the what the fuck face at my sister. She quite calmly just said, "As long as they leave me a letter explaining it, because I'm not going to go to prison for them." Just getting steadily worse. So I looked at my dad, because my dad's like the voice of reason in our family. I looked at my dad and I said, "What do you think about this?" And he went, "First I've heard of it." He did look genuinely gutted as well. Like he had massive plans for what he's going to do after my mum had died.
Thanks for watching. You know what would be great is if you liked and subscribed. I'm so needy, I'm so sorry. And why not come and see me live? The tickets are available at sarahmillican.co.uk. Put the kettle on and settle in.